Welcome to Daily Wisdom, Walking the Path with the Buddha, a podcast shared by David Roylance. This podcast is dedicated to guiding you to completely eliminate the discontent mind and the suffering it causes by attaining enlightenment. Learn and practice the teachings of Gotama Buddha that will guide you to fully attain a peaceful, calm, serene, and content mind with joy. To support this podcast, visit patreon.com/support Buddha or visit buddhadailywisdom.com, where you will discover a full range of courses, retreats, and online learning resources to assist you on the path to enlightenment. Now, here's our teacher to share more.
Sawadee-ka. Hello and welcome to Daily Wisdom, Walking the Path with the Buddha. Today is our group learning program, and I'm starting a 4-part series on Buddhist chanting. Today is the first part where I'm going to help you to understand the benefits of chanting. We're going to do chanting together, and then towards the end, we'll combine it together with meditation, so that we'll be easing into meditation with Buddhist chanting. So I'd like to welcome all of you, whether you're joining for the first time or you're joining regularly. I have multiple things to share with you on this topic, but first, let me just share a little bit of history of where chanting comes from within the Buddhist tradition. During the lifetime of the Buddha, everything that he taught was oral, where the technology to write things down didn't exist in that region of the world. So he needed some way of helping his students to remember his teachings, because everything that the Buddha taught is all about cultivating wisdom and training the mind, uprooting certain pollutions that are in the mind. There aren't any rites, rituals, ceremonies, worship, or prayer in the teachings of the Buddha. If you've been exposed to these kinds of things and it's being called Buddhist, the Buddha never actually taught that. That's things that people actually might have added or tried to put into the teachings of the Buddha after his death. But instead, he taught you to learn, grow, and develop through the cultivation of wisdom, training your mind and uprooting certain pollutions in the mind. So in order to accomplish this, there's a certain amount of intellectual learning that you need to be able to do, where you're examining and investigating the teachings. Then you need to reflect on those teachings to independently verify whether they're true or false. Then you need to practice the teachings, integrating them into your day-to-day life. So 2,500 years ago, during the lifetime of the Buddha, in order to do that intellectual learning and examination and investigation, you needed to be in the presence of the Buddha to be able to hear his spoken words, but then you needed to remember those so that you can then reflect on them to independently verify the truth, and then you could actually start practicing the teachings. So since the technology didn't exist in order to write things down, they used chanting or reciting the words of the Buddha in order to commit the teachings to memory so that now they could remember the teachings. Because the Buddha would travel around all over that region, and you might only be with the Buddha for one day a week, or a few hours a week, or maybe even a few hours a month. So you needed to be able to remember his teachings when you were off on your own to be able to then practice his teachings. So they used chanting, the oral recitation of his words, in order to be able to then remember the teachings. So during the lifetime of the Buddha, people would have known what each individual word meant. Today, people don't necessarily know what the words mean. I have the English translations of the chants that I share. And sometimes when people don't know something and it becomes kind of mystical or magical, there isn't anything mystical or magical with chanting. There's no amount of chanting that's going to lead to any beneficial result in terms of like your girlfriend coming back to you or boyfriend coming back to you, or becoming wealthy or having a long life or any of these kinds of things. Instead, the origins of chanting was to remember the teachings. But there's surely benefits in chanting, and that's why I've always done chanting, and that's why I teach chanting, because there's plenty of benefits associated with chanting. But it's just important to understand the origins of chanting within the Buddhist tradition so that you understand that there isn't anything mystical or magical with it, that this isn't a rite, a ritual, or a ceremony, or worship, or prayer, or anything like that. So let's talk about what the actual benefits of chanting are so that you can understand that, and then as you're learning chanting, you'll be able to get the benefits of what is actually happening as you're chanting. So the benefits of chanting are that in the teachings of the Buddha, when he's describing meditation and he's giving you the instructions of how to meditate, he will typically say, prior to starting to guide you in meditation, he will say, set up mindfulness in front of you. This is like an instruction or guidance that he gives before you even start meditating, that you set up mindfulness in front of you. Well, what mindfulness is awareness of mind. And you need to develop some awareness of mind before you start meditating. So you don't just plop down into meditation and start meditating. So if you're setting up mindfulness in front of you, you're bringing some awareness to the mind before you ease into meditation. So chanting is what I use for that, is to build that awareness of mind as you're easing into meditation. That's setting up mindfulness in front of you. Then as you're developing this awareness of mind, you're also developing concentration and memory. So chanting is kind of like exercising the mind a bit. It's kind of like taking your mind to the gym, that if you were exercising the body, the muscles would become stronger and stronger. And the same thing is true about the mind, is that if you exercise it with chanting, you're going to develop not only this awareness of mind, but you're going to notice more focus and concentration and memory, because you're going to need that in order to be able to chant. Then it's helping you to develop awareness of breath, because as you're chanting, there needs to be a certain awareness of breath as you are starting to do these chants. And now as you start meditation, you already have awareness of your mind, you've already developed some concentration, you've got awareness of the breath. You can start getting benefit from your meditation right at the beginning of your meditation. Whereas if you didn't have some practice before your meditation and you just plop down into meditation, it might be 5, 10, 15 minutes before you start getting benefit. So with a little bit of chanting at the beginning prior to doing your meditation, you actually get more benefit out of the meditation itself, because you have awareness of mind, you have concentration, memory, and awareness of breath. It also helps to slow down, relax, and ease the mind into meditation. With craving, desire, attachment, the longing, yearning, the mind is tending to chase and chase and chase and chase and chase. That's what the unenlightened mind does, is just chases after things. And it tends to be very rapid and sometimes even overactive. So what you're looking to do is actually slow down the mind and relax the mind, because then you can have full awareness of the mind in your day-to-day life, and you can make wise decisions that's going to produce wholesome results, or wholesome karma. If your mind's all shaken up and overactive and you're just having constant thoughts all throughout your day, just thought, it's very challenging to be able to gather your thoughts, collect your wisdom, and then make certain decisions that are going to produce wholesome results. So in your meditation, if you're training to slow down the mind, relax the mind, and ease it into meditation, and then during the meditation, you're also having a nice, slow, gradual breath to be able to slow the mind down, because the mind is fixated to the breath. If you're training this way in meditation, in your day-to-day life, your mind will slow down as well. And you'll actually be able to bring forth your wisdom in your day-to-day life to be able to make wise decisions that lead to wholesome results. So slowing down, relaxing, and easing the mind in the meditation is going to produce more beneficial results for you. Sometimes when people are first learning on the path, they have a challenge to notice improvement in their day-to-day practice. I've talked to some students that have told me in 2 days they've noticed results with their meditation practice and what they're learning in the classes and courses and retreats that I share. Other times it takes longer for students to notice that improvement in progress. Well, I was one of those people that it took a really long time for me to notice progress, that my mind was really congested. It was almost like a brick wall. And what I was doing is I was doing chanting and meditating. And some people, if they're not making progress and they don't see observable progress, can become demotivated. But if you have chanting and you have this audible indication through week by week, session by session, that your chanting practice is improving, this can be motivating and encouraging for you. So chanting is like an audible indication that there's improvement to your practice, because each session, each week, each month, you can hear your chanting improving. So you might think about chanting in that way. Also, as you learn the meaning of these chants, you're going to see a lot of appreciation, gratitude, and respect for the Buddha in these chants. And the way that I think about it is that not only do I have respect and gratitude towards the Buddha for these teachings that he shared and have been handed down all these years, but there's kind of like this long line of people over the last 2,500 years that have passed these teachings down from person to person to person to person to now today, that they're actually reaching you. And we'll never know the names or who those people are that passed those teachings down for so many centuries. But I have an enormous amount of respect and gratitude for the Buddha and all of these people, because without them, we wouldn't have actually gotten these teachings. They decided that these teachings and these chants are beneficial, and they preserve them within their own minds and in their own hearts. So by passing them down, it's helped us to now acquire some wisdom that is going to be beneficial for our life. So you're going to need to cultivate respect and gratitude towards all people around you. An enlightened being is not disrespectful. They're not ungrateful for the things that are happening around them. They have gratitude and respect for the people around them. So it maybe as you're chanting, this can help to cultivate respect and gratitude for the elders or the people that have handed down teachings for all these years, and Gotama Buddha himself. And then this can kind of bubble over into your day-to-day life where you have respect and gratitude towards your parents and your siblings and your coworkers and neighbors and friends and other people like this. It's important to understand that there isn't anything mystical or magical with chanting. As I shared, that sometimes when people know the least about something and they know very little about something, it kind of takes on this mystical or magical approach where people might think that, if you chant this special chant, you're going to get your boyfriend or girlfriend back. Or if you chant this special chant, you're going to get wealthy. Or if you chant this special chant, you're going to instantly get to enlightenment. Well, if there was something like this that existed in the world, it would have spread like wildfire by now. If the Buddha created something 2,500 years ago, that if you chanted, you would instantly get wealthy, that would have spread through the humanity instantly, right? Because think about it, you go to a really nice restaurant and you have a great meal and have good service, you probably tell 3, 4, 5, 10 different people about it, right? So if somebody had a chant that would instantly produce wealth or some other beneficial result like that, then that would have spread like wildfire. We've had 2,500 years for this to be able to spread. So oftentimes people are believing these kinds of things, but it's not actually true. So I teach people not to believe anybody. Don't believe others, but don't believe me either. So if you go to a temple and they say, hey, we've got this special chant. If you chant this chant 10 times a day, you're going to get this extra long life. And it's only our temple that knows this. This is a secret within our community. Okay, well, that's what they said, but don't believe them. And don't believe me either that there's nothing mystical or magical about these chants. Look around the temple. Do you see people that are 150, 200, 300 years old? If you see that, then there's maybe some truth to this particular chant, right? But if you don't see that, which I'm sure you're not going to see that, then you can know that this is just a belief that these people are having, right? So sometimes people believe these things and you're not interested in belief. By the time you get to enlightenment, you can see the truth for yourself. And there's no amount of words that you can recite in a chant that's going to magically produce some kind of benefit, because everything that you're experiencing in life is based on cause and effect or action and result, the natural law of karma. If you would like to be wealthy, you're going to need to acquire wisdom and you're going to need to go out into the world and produce that wealth. If you would like to have a long life, you're going to need to make wise decisions about how you care for this body and this mind to be able to produce a long life. If you would like to get your boyfriend or girlfriend back, you're going to need to have a certain conversation and talk and have discussions in order to be able to accomplish that goal. There's no amount of chanting that's going to produce those kinds of things. So if you hear those kinds of things out there, you can know that it's untrue, but you can also test it for yourself and see the truth for yourself. So I'm going to pause here and see if you guys have any questions on the benefits of chanting and what you're accomplishing through the cultivation of mindfulness, concentration, deeper memory, developing awareness of breath, slowing, relaxing, and easing the mind into meditation, and maybe even having this audible indication that your practice is improving, and cultivating respect and gratitude for the people in the past, the elders, and Gotama Buddha himself. Let me know if you guys have questions on this or any other aspect of chanting. And then what I'm going to do is move into actually teaching you the chanting as part of our class today. If you have questions, you can put that into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, or you can raise your hand in Zoom, unmute your microphone, and ask any questions that way. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions anywhere. So I'm going to move on to teaching you guys about how to do the chanting. I'm going to teach 3 different chants, and we're going to be chanting in the Pali language. This is the historical language of the teachings of the Buddha. That the largest, most complete collection we have of the teachings of the Buddha are in the Pali language. But now the teachings have been translated over to English, so you can learn and practice in English, but we still chant in Pali. This is like a unifying language across all temples within the Theravada tradition. So whether you go to Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Cambodia, Laos, Thailand, southern Vietnam, or anywhere in the world that is practicing Theravada Buddhism, you'll be able to chant right along with those people. Their accent and their dialect will be a little bit different, but you could walk into a temple that you've never been to, and they'll be chanting these exact same chants. Whereas if you learn other traditions of teachings, then they're going to be chanting in their local language. So if you're in China, they're going to be chanting in Chinese, or if you're in Vietnam, they're going to be chanting in Vietnamese. But that's not in the Theravada tradition. That's the Mahayana or Vajrayana tradition and places like that. They're going to be chanting in their localized language. So you're going to need to first learn that language and then be able to chant along with those people. Whereas if you learn how to chant in the Pali language, it's a unifying language that everywhere in the world that practices this tradition of Buddhist teachings, they'll be chanting with this same particular language. So this first chant that I'm going to be teaching you is called the triple gem or the triple jewel. It pays respect to the Buddha, the teachings, and the community. And typically, if you're going to an event in the Theravada tradition, they're going to start it with this chant, because these are the three things that you need in order to be able to get to enlightenment. You need to have confidence in the Buddha, access to his teachings, and you need to be part of a community. If you just had one of these things or two of these things, you wouldn't actually be able to get to enlightenment. So if I had confidence in the Buddha, but I didn't have access to his teachings and I wasn't part of a community, there's no way to get to enlightenment. Or if I just had access to his teachings and I didn't have confidence in him and I wasn't part of a community, I wouldn't be able to get to enlightenment. Or if I was just part of a community and I didn't have confidence in the Buddha and I didn't have access to his teachings, wouldn't be able to get to enlightenment. So each individual event will typically start off with this particular chant because it's so important to have all three of these things. You need to have confidence in the Buddha, you need to have access to his teachings, and be part of a community. Sometimes people misunderstand this word sangha, which means community. Sometimes people think that it means just the ordained practitioners, and that's what this chant is for. And that's not actually true. The sangha is the entire community. The Buddha broke down the sangha into separate delineations, but the word sangha means community. Then there's the bhikkhu sangha, which is the ordained males. There's the bhikkhuni sangha, which is the female ordained practitioners. And then there's what's called the Aryan sangha, which is anybody in the 4 stages of enlightenment. So when we just use the word sangha, which is what the third statement is all about, that's the entire community. So here you're paying respect to the Buddha, the teachings, and the entire community, because you're going to need all these individuals to help you and support you in your journey to enlightenment. You wouldn't be able to just go off in a cave somewhere and actually get to enlightenment. So the way I'm going to teach you these chants is I'm going to do it 4 times. The first time, I'm just going to do it myself so you can hear what it sounds like. Then I'm going to do it a second time, and I'm going to show you where I'm breathing so that you can kind of get a sense of where you might potentially decide to breathe. Then we'll do it a third time where you can join in with me and I'll guide you in where to breathe as we're chanting. Then we'll do it a 4th time where I'm not giving you any guidance at all and we're just chanting the particular chant. So I'll show you how we do this with each individual chant to help you build up your practice. So here's the first time through. So you can just hear it and you can actually see it on the screen. For anybody who's listening to this on our podcast, you might decide to go to our website, buddhadailywisdom.com, click on free books, and then scroll down towards the bottom and you'll see the daily chanting sheet, because there you'll actually see the words. So here's how this first one actually sounds. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakawa Bhutang Mahakavanang Apivateyami Savakato Mahakavata Tammo Dhammang namasami Supatipano Mahakavato Sāvaka Saṅkho Sanghang namami. Okay, so that's how that one sounds. Okay. And what you might have noticed there, if you're watching this through video, is that I bowed at the end of each one of those statements. That's actually to show respect to the Buddha, the teachings, in the entire community. If you're in a large group of people and they're typically at a temple or some other location, you might actually see people prostrating to the ground for this. This helps to eliminate the ego in the mind, to move the head down towards the ground. So you might notice people are doing that. But I'm sitting in a chair here in front of a computer, so I'm just kind of raising my hands up and actually bowing and showing respect with what we would call a Y in Thai culture. Okay, so whether you choose to do that bow or not, it's up to you. This is your practice. Whether you even choose to do chanting or not, it's up to you. Because during the lifetime of the Buddha, you needed chanting in order to get to enlightenment. You wouldn't be able to get to enlightenment without chanting. Nowadays, you don't need to actually chant in order to get to enlightenment. You can remember the teachings through studying books and videos and podcasts and things like that. So that's why on the core central path to enlightenment, the Eightfold Path, you don't see right chanting because it's not part of the core path. But during the lifetime of the Buddha, they used it as a learning tool, where a book or an audiobook or some other resource like that, that's the learning tool that we use to be able to commit it to our memory, where chanting was used during his lifetime in order to commit it to memory. So whether you choose to chant or not is up to you, but it really is helpful to gain these benefits that I just mentioned. So here's the second time through with the triple gem, and I'm going to tell you where I'm actually breathing so that if you'd like to breathe here, you'll kind of know as I guide you in the third time and the fourth time. So here we go. Here's where I actually breathe. I take a nice deep breath at the beginning, and then I chant Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava. I'm going to take a breath here. Bhutang Bhagavanang Apivateyami. As I'm bowing, I'm breathing in here. Savakato Bhagavata Tammo. I'm taking a breath here. Dhammang Namasami. Again, as I'm bowing, I'm taking in a nice deep breath. Supatipano Bhagavato. Little breath here. Sāvaka Saṅkho. Little breath here. Sanghang Namami. And then again, as I'm bowing, I'm going to take a nice deep breath that eases us into the next chant. Okay? But now let's go through a third time with this, where you have an opportunity to join in, and I will guide you to help you understand where the breath is. Whether you breathe where I'm instructing you to breathe or not is up to you. It's your practice. But this is like a natural pause in the chanting, and it's an ideal place to breathe. So if you'd like to breathe here, you're more than welcome to. But again, it's your practice. You can choose to do whatever you like. Okay? So what you might decide to do is take a nice deep breath here. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava. Breath. Bhutang Bhagavanang Apivateyami. Nice deep breath here. Savakato Bhagavata Tammo. Breath here. Dhammang Namasami. Again, a nice deep breath here. Supatipano Bhagavato. Little breath. Sāvaka Saṅkho. Little breath. Sanghang Namami. And that's where a deep breath is leading into the next chant. Okay? So we're going to do this a fourth time, and now I'm not going to provide any guidance. It's just you in hearing me chant and looking at the words, and now this will help you to transition to be able to chant it more and more on your own. Okay? So if you would like to chant along, you can go ahead and chant along here. You guys ready? Here we go. Arahang Samma Sambuddho attain Savakato bhagavata tammo dhammang namasami Supatipano bhagavato sāvaka saṅkho Sanghang namami. Okay. Yay. Our first time through on the first chant. Okay. So let me see if you guys have questions on this. Remember, you can put that into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, or you can raise your hand in Zoom if you'd like. So it looks like Richard has a question. Go ahead, sir.
Sorry, whilst you were chanting there, I thought something would come up on the screen and it never.
Oh,
it's a problem.
I apologize. There you go. How about that?
There it is, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for letting me know. You guys were awfully quiet. I'm surprised you didn't say something sooner. All right.
We didn't want to interrupt.
Oh, no worries. You're always welcome to let me know. Okay, it looks like Ted or Kristen has a question.
Good evening, David. I was trying to pull it up, and my wife reminded me that sometimes it's not that easy to read along because they're not pronounced as you would read them. But as we go, I don't know, it's been a year plus since we've been learning with you and hearing the chants. So I'm hoping by osmosis they penetrate and I can follow along. Although Kristen does a really good job, I'm not there yet. But yeah, Richard said he didn't see the words, and I'm like, okay, is David going to put them up? But you did. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. That's just some impermanence for you guys, right?
Oh.
So, Ted, these aren't going to be learned by you through osmosis, unfortunately. You're going to need to actively practice them if you'd like to learn how to chant. I used to actually have a chanting sheet in the area where I would meditate, and I would go in there and I would sometimes just do chanting. I would do each chant 3 times. I would go through it 3 times. And sometimes I didn't even meditate. I would just go away. And I would do this maybe 3, 4, 5 times during the day because it only takes 2.5 minutes to do all 3 chants. So if you went into an area, did 3 chants, it's 7.5 minutes, and then you go off and do your other stuff. And then you come back and do it again. This is the way to actually build up your practice, is through this gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress. I learned this first one in about a week or 2. It didn't take me very long to learn this first one. And the second one is too. That one's pretty easy and pretty straightforward. Richard, thank you for letting me know my mute was on. If you're interested in learning these, you're going to need to do it through active training. And unfortunately, it doesn't happen through osmosis. One of the things that I had to do is I had to actively practice this by going into the area where I had a meditation area set up, and I would have a sheet there, and I would go in and sometimes chant them 3 times, which would take about 7.5 minutes because each time all the way through all 3 takes about 2.5 minutes. So it took me about 7.5 minutes, and then I would go off and go do something in my day, and then I would come back, 3, 4, 5 hours later, do it again. Then I would go do something and come back. So through this gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress, you can gradually learn this. And it took me about a week to learn this first one, 1 or 2 weeks. And then the second one was pretty easy too. So unfortunately, osmosis doesn't work with any of this stuff. You need to actively learn it. So if you are really interested in the chanting, you could practice the chanting by itself, the way that I just described. Or also what I was doing when I was first learning chanting is rather than chant it just 1 time going into meditation, I would chant it 3 times going into meditation. So that way I got a little bit of extra practice. So that's just some suggestions for you. And I would even do that on the way out, is practice it 3 times on the way out until I had it committed to memory and I didn't need the sheet anymore. Okay, let me see if we have any questions on YouTube or on Facebook. Don't see any questions there. So let's go into the next chant, which some people find quite a bit easier because it's just 1 phrase repeated 3 times. And if you're growing up here in Thailand and you start mouthing a few words, they're going to start teaching you this. I've seen like 1.5, 2.5, 3-year-old kids that can actually chant this, because as soon as you start mouthing a few words, they're going to start teaching you this chant. So the way that I learned these chants is I actually learned this one first, then I learned the first one, and then I learned the third one. So if you'd like to break it down that way, you might decide to do that. But some people like to just learn all 3 at one time, which is completely fine too. But if you find it challenging to learn all 3, you might break it down like that. So again, I'm going to do it 4 times so that you can hear me chanting this the first time, then I'll guide you in the second time, showing you where my breath is. The third time we'll do it together and I'll guide you in it. And then the fourth time we'll just do it without the guidance. So here's how this one sounds. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Okay, so this is the second one. I refer to it as the Namo Tassa. I'm sure there's another way to refer to it, but this is the second chant that is typically going to be happening at a large event when you get together with other people who are practicing the teachings. So here, I'll go through it a second time, and I'll show you where I'm breathing. Okay, so I'll take a nice deep breath coming in off of that last chant, and now Namo tassa bhagavato. There's a little breath here. Arahato samma sambuddhassa. Take a nice deep breath here. Namo tassa bhagavato. Breath. Arahato samma sambuddhassa. Breath. Namo tassa bhagavato. Breath. Arahato samma sambuddhassa. Okay, so that's where the breaths are. At the end of this chant, there's a nice deep breath going into the next one. Okay, so now we can do it a third time where you guys are welcome to join in. And now I will guide you in where the breaths are. Okay, so nice deep breath here. Namo tassa bhagavato. Breath. Arahato samma sambuddhassa. Breath. Namo tassa bhagavato. Breath. Arahato samma sambuddhassa. Breath. Namo tassa bhagavato. Breath. Arahato samma sambuddhassa. And then there's a deep breath there going into the next one. Okay? So now we'll do it a fourth time where there won't be any guidance. It'll just be us chanting. Okay? So here we go. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Okay. Clap it up for everybody who's out there chanting. Okay. All right. Do you guys have any questions on this chant? Anything you guys would like to ask? Okay, it looks like Richard might have a question, and maybe Ted and Kristen too.
On the second word there, I'm looking at tassa, but it seems that you're pronouncing it slightly differently, or are you sticking the T of tassa on the end of namo?
Namo tassa,
Okay.
tassa. Yep. Yeah, this is the challenge is we're using English characters to represent an oral language that didn't even have a script, right? So that's one of the challenges that we have here. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So it looks like Ted and Kristen.
Good.
Hi, Teacher David. Is it sort of common to sort of get a little lightheaded when we're chanting sometimes? Is it just because I'm not taking a big enough inhale, or I'm taking too big of an inhale?
It's because of the breaths, right? It's like doing a lot of breathing back and forth. So it can happen as you're learning. But if you calm your breath down and you don't need to take as deep as an inhale and as deep of an exhale as you're doing this, you'll be able to not be lightheaded. So you'll just need to focus on controlling the breath a little bit more, where you don't controlling it to the point where it's natural, right? Like when I'm chanting, it's just like I'm breathing almost. But I used to get a little bit lightheaded at first because I had to really focus so much on the chanting, and I was taking in such big inhales and such big exhales.
Okay, yeah, that's sort of what I'm experiencing still, so I'll just keep practicing.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, let me see if we have anything on YouTube or Facebook. Don't see anything there. All right, so let's move into the third chant, which I found more challenging, but other people say that it's easier for them. So everybody's going to have different experiences with these things, right? So it's not everyone's going to have the same experience. So again, I'm going to do it 4 times for you guys. So here's how this one sounds. Iti piso emahakawa arahang sama sammuto vicacaranang sammuno sakhato rokawitu anutero purisa dhamma sati satatawa manusanang poto bhagavati. Okay, so I do a little bit of a bow at the end of each chant there. So you might actually start hearing the pauses that you're hearing in the pausing in the chanting. So I'll teach you guys where I breathe, but you might actually start already be hearing this. And again, you don't have to breathe here, but this is just an ideal place to breathe because there's a natural pause in the chanting. So what I do is I take a nice deep breath here and I go Iti piso empakawa. There's a little breath here. Arahang sama sammuto. Big breath here. Vicacaranang sammuno. Little breath here. Sakhato rokawitu. Little breath here. Anutero purisa. Breath here. Dhamma sati satatawa manusanang. Little breath here. Poto bhagavati. Okay, so that's where I tend to breathe because there's a natural pause there in the chant. Okay, so now we can do it a third time where you guys are joining in and I'll guide you in where to breathe. Okay, so here we can take a nice deep breath at the beginning. Iti piso embhakawa. Breath. Arahang sama sammuto. Breath. Vichacharanang sammuno. Breath. Sakato rokavitu. Breath. Anutero purisa. Breath. Dhamma sati satatawa manusanam. Breath. Bhutto bhagavati. Okay, so that's where I'm breathing as we go through. Okay, so now we can do it a fourth time where I won't guide you in the breath. We can just do it and you can kind of start building your memory here. Okay, so here we go. Iti piso emahakawa arahang sammasammuto vichacharanang sammuno sakato rokavitu anutero purisa Dhamma sati satatawa manusanam Bhutto bhagavati. Okay, claps all the way around. Okay, good job there. All right, any questions on this chant? Anything you guys would like to ask? Okay. So I think it's worth noting, now that you guys are learning these chants and you can see the English translations, that there's a lot of respect and appreciation and gratitude for the Buddha in these chants. And because of that, I don't think the Buddha actually created these chants himself. They were probably created by his students, either during his life or after his death. Because a Buddha wouldn't walk around and say, here, chant these chants to me, out of respect to me. Let me teach you how to respect me through chanting to me, right? So the Buddha wouldn't have done that. But if you learn from a teacher how to move from this anger and sadness and frustration and all those other discontent feelings to the peace and joy, which is a permanent mental state, and this teacher didn't want anything from you or expect anything from you, you'd probably have a lot of respect and gratitude for that person too. So that's where I suspect that these chants actually came from, is from his students. So these chants, while they have this meaning behind it, and it can help you to cultivate gratitude and respect for the Buddha, it's important to understand that the Buddha didn't give these to his students and say, here, chant these to me, or else I'm not going to teach you, right? It's not that kind of thing at all. It's that something that people choose to do out of respect and gratitude for him. So I saw, Richard, you had your hand up there for a moment. Did you have a question?
Yes, David. Whereabouts on the main website can I find the chants?
Yeah, if you go to buddhadailywisdom.com and you click on free books, then from there you scroll down towards the bottom and you're going to see the daily chants there. It's a one-page, kind of two-sided, just like we have at the temple, where you can print it one side and the other side, and you can just have it with you in your home or wherever you choose to meditate most frequently, and it'll help you to be able to chant. You can also find it in our book series in volume 1, chapter 11. If you have the book, you'll find it in there as well, and I think you do have the book, so you could find it there as well, but it's as a one-page kind of handout on our website.
Okay.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay. All right, so here's what I typically do at this point is I invite you guys to chant all three together, all the way through, from the beginning all the way to the end. And this will be good for those of you guys in Zoom because you guys didn't see this first one when I was teaching it to you. So this will be good for you guys to walk through it. So if you guys would like to walk through this and chant it all together from Arahang Sama Sambuddhassa to Namo Tassa to the Iti Piso, we'll put them all together in one swoop, right? 2.5 minutes of chanting with no guidance whatsoever. Okay? You guys game? Everybody's game? Okay, let's do it. All right? All right, here we go. No guidance at all. Arahang Sama Sambuddho Bhagava พุทธังมหาควันนังอภิวาเตมิ สวากขาโตภะคะวะตาธัมโมธัมมังนามัสสามิสุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินับโมรัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนับโมรัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนับโมรัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสภะคะวะอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารนังสัมโมโนสคาโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรปุริสาดามาสติสัตตาตาวะมานุสรังพุทโธภาควาติ Okay. Yay, one time through. Okay. Congrats to you guys. All right. Any questions at all on any of the three chants? Let me see. Don't see any questions on Facebook or YouTube, and I don't see, oh, there's one from maybe Ted or Kristen.
David, you said that this is a kind of a universal chant in the Theravada practice of Buddhism.
Yes, that's correct. You'll have a slight difference in dialect in the way that people are pronouncing it. So like if you go to Sri Lanka, instead of Arahang Sama Sam Puto, which is what you hear in Thailand, it's Arahang Sama Sam Buddho, right? So there's a slight difference, but if everybody's chanting together, it'll all blend together because there's not just one way to chant, right? Because that would be permanence. We understand the universal truth of impermanence. So there's going to be slight variations in pronunciations.
Thank you.
Even here in Thailand, by the way, like temple to temple, if you go to one temple and then as you know here in Thailand, like right next door is another temple, you can have slight difference in chanting because the master teacher at each temple is different. So people are going to chant however that teacher is chanting. So this would be considered like a Thai dialect, the way that you're chanting here, because I heard this from Thai people and that's how I picked it up. Okay. I don't see any other questions anywhere. Okay, so what I would like to invite you guys to do now, if you like, is we can combine this chanting with our meditation, where you guys have been maybe meditating with me in the past, and I've been doing the chanting and then guide you in the meditation, and then we meditate and then come out with the chanting. But now we can put it all together now that you've learned this. So if you'd like to do that, we'll chant on the way into meditation. Then I will guide you during the meditation for a brief period. There'll be a period of time where it's just quiet and we're all meditating together. Then we'll come out of the meditation with some more chanting. And that's where you can learn how to go in and out of your meditation with chanting, and you'll get more benefit out of the meditation itself. So if you'd like to take a meditation position, either seated, lying, or standing, these work really well for online learning. And we can do these chants on the way in, and then I'll guide you once we get into the meditation. And then after the meditation, we can come out of the meditation with more chanting as well. อะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธมหาควาพุทธังมหาควันนังอภิวาเทมิ สวากขาโตมหาควตาธัมโมธัมมังนามัสสามิสุปฏิปันโนมหาควโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินับโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนับโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนับโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสมะคะวะอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารณังสัมมุโนสกขาโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรปุริสาธัมมาสติสัตตาตวามนุสนังพุทโธภะคะวะติ Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, in the upper body erect. Just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath, a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled, just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then, when you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathing gradually through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath, either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. สัมมาสัมพุทโธมหากวาพุทธังมหากวันนังอภิวาเทมิสวากขาโตมหากวัตตาธัมโมธัมมังนามัสสามิสุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสภะคะวะอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิจาจารณังสัมมุโนสกาโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรภูริสาธัมมาสติสัตตาตาวามนุสนังพุทโธภะคะวะติ Okay, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation, what I'm going to do is just open up to any remaining questions that you guys might have, whether you're in Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom. You can ask questions by putting that into the Facebook group in the comment section, or if you're in Zoom, you can electronically raise your hand and ask any questions that way. Okay, you're welcome, Thana. I see in YouTube you're saying thank you there. You're very welcome. Pleased to help you. Okay. I don't see anything else anywhere. So what I'm going to do then is just end by thanking all of you guys for joining, and at the same time invite you for our future classes, because each Wednesday now I'm going to do this 4-part series on Buddhist chanting. So next week we're going to practice some more chanting and do meditation together. This Sunday at 9 a.m. Thai time and 9 p.m. Thai time, I'm going to be in chapter 5 of our book, Developing a Life Practice, The Path That Leads to Enlightenment. This chapter is titled The Eightfold Path, the path for all humans to enlightenment. This is the core central teaching of the Buddha that you're going to need to know inside and out, backwards and forwards, left, right, up, down. You're going to need to memorize this teaching in order to be able to really implement it into your day-to-day life and experience the real results. So if you would like to learn this core, central, very important teaching from the Buddha, that's going to be on Sunday. And if you can't attend live, remember it's recorded on our YouTube channel, on our Facebook group, and even on our podcast. So thank you all again for attending, and perhaps we'll see you guys in a future class. Be well and take care. Sawadee.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. To provide support for this podcast, visit patreon.com/support Buddha. To access more teachings, visit buddhadailywisdom.com. There, you will discover a full range of courses, retreats, and online resources to assist you on the path to enlightenment. Remember to establish a daily, consistent meditation practice, along with learning and practicing these teachings. A well-developed meditation practice is the foundation in which to train the mind to attain enlightenment.